Now we will see that as a child, you have twice the number of neural pathways, yet as you age you begin to deplete your neural liquid and only keep the neural pathways you use the most. The only reason I can deduce for this is simply we are not consuming any neural liquid.
A child's brain. A swirling profusion of billions and billions of neurons, reaching out to billions more neurons to form trillions of connections, pulsing with electric and chemical energy.
Exuberant connectivity. The cells literally are going wild making all these connections, discovering each other, forming the basis of what we call something learned. Learning is about connection and connectivity and exuberance.
You start with a block of marble, like a sculptor would, and there's a lot of marble there. A young child has hundreds of trillions of connections in the brain, twice as many connections as the adult. And then comes along the sculptor who takes away bits of the marble to reveal a form. Experience is the sculptor. Experience determines which of those connections to take away and which to leave. That's what learning is. It's changing the weights of the connections in the brain depending on experience.
Would you agree that whatever happens on a cellular level is more likely to repeat on each successive level?
Unfortunately, as the new biology reveals, we are very, very personally responsible. But unless you know that responsibility and how it works, then we're really just walking blindly into the field. So what I'm planning to do tonight is this. The first part is I'm going to talk to you about the new biology and why this is relevant. You have to understand that, because once you see how the cells actually work, all of a sudden you say, oh my goodness, our belief in things like genes controlling biology and all this other stuff is not accurate at all. There's a new understanding, and what's really wonderful about it, it is really fully empowering. So let me start off with this. I'm a scientist. I came in through the system of conventional academia. I used to teach and research at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine, where I said I was teaching in embryology and development and histology. And I also was carrying out research on cloning human cells. And that was really what provided me the insight into how biology actually works, by looking at the mechanisms of individual cells as they express their developmental potential. And so the issue is, what is controlling biology? And all of a sudden, this is very relevant for all of us, because before we stood back and said, the genes were making me do this. Now the question is, what gives us the character and traits of our life? So I'm going to talk about cells. And now when I'm going to talk about cells in this beginning part, don't get freaky and say, what's he talking about cells? We're people. Let me explain something to you. You might look in the mirror and see yourself as a single entity, but as a cellular biologist, I can tell you that's a mistaken perception for the following reason. You are made out of trillions of cells. Every cell is a sentient living organism. Why? Well, in my research, I used to clone human cells, take them out of a body, put them in a tissue culture dish, and watch them grow and develop and behave. And the reality is they didn't need your whole body to carry out their lives. Here's the point. We have failed to recognize that we actually are not a single entity. We are indeed a community of cells. That when we talk about health and disease, really what you're talking about is the politics of how the cells in the community are getting along or not getting along, as the case may be. So what I want to talk about is how cells work. And the reason why I'm going to bring this up and the relevance of it is this. Important fact. There is no new function in this entire human body that's not already present in every single cell. Every cell has every system that you express in your body. That has a digestive system, respiratory, nervous system, cardiovascular system, musculoskeletal system, a nervous system, immune system, an endocrine system. It's all in there. So why this is important is you can understand the human by studying the cell, because the human is just collective amoebic consciousness. We are all these amoebas that have come together to share their lives and give us the characters and traits that we express. We cannot express a trait that a cell cannot express, because we're made out of cells. So talking about cells will give you insight into your own life. It's your interaction in the environment that selects your gene programs. If you're in a very supporting, nurturing environment, you'll express functions of the system to promote growth. But if you're in a toxic, angry creating environment, an environment that conflicts with your life, you're going to...
The signaling resonating within two neural liquids is received by receptors on the cell surface membrane of every human cell. In 1999, Günter Blobel won the Nobel Prize for Medicine when he discovered a variety of sugars formed fine hair-like tentacles, which protruded through the cell surface membrane and acted as portals for the neural liquid to flow and communicate between cells. As these human cells spin, the tentacles for the digestive, the endocrine, and other human systems touch and communicate by passing the neural liquid from one cell to the other. The study of these sugars affecting our reception on the cell surface membrane is called glycomics. And MIT predicted this discovery would be one of the top 10 growth industries in the next decade. According to Francis Crick, when we are a baby, our bodies are 50% human. And when we reach adulthood, only 10% of all our cells are human. The prophecy of Genesis also says that humans after the time of the flood would live to only 120 years old. Ironically, the same lifespan as our body's neurons. While we are unable to feed them